Vibhu, great to see you. Thanks for making a bit of time to come and have a chat. I really appreciate that. I wanted to start by picking up a point that you made when we spoke first off, which I thought was really interesting. I'm just checking my notes here. You said to me, bookies have the edge. We're going to change that. Now, I'm not really a gambler particularly, but I can imagine that will upset an awful lot of bookies. So just tell us about, what you mean by that, why it's important to you, and what. Just tell us about what you're trying to do.
Sure, sure. First of all, thanks a lot for having me on your podcast, the Chief Uncensored. I really like the topics that you dig into. So hopefully I can contribute today as well. So if looking at what I meant by just saying that the bookies have the edge is primarily because most of the times the rates or the prices are most of the time set by the bookies, and bookies have a
Right.
massive team and a lots of resources with them, and so then there's always an advantage that they have compared to, let's say, on the other side, when you have a consumer or a sports fan who's basically punting. It's most of the times the difficulty they have is it's only themselves and their knowledge of the game, and even if they wanted to do some sort of analysis or data analysis, it's too far-fetched for them to be able to do it. However, that's when the birth of syndicates and all that happened. But for an average Joe, it's they're always at a disadvantage.
Okay, so let me just to clarify that for people that perhaps don't understand that world. What you're saying is bookies have all the knowledge and all the information to judge the odds, and punters, if you like, don't have that information, and therefore they're bound to lose or lose most of the time. That's essentially what you're saying. Have I understood that correctly?
Yeah, two parts to it. One part is actually having the data and the information, which is fairly still accessible,
Yeah.
but then it is time consuming. Second part of it is you're being able to process that data, find out patterns, insights, and then be able to make it and bring it into a decision, which requires a lot of cognitive load, as well as some knowledge in statistics or some
Yeah.
know-how, and primarily when you have a day job, you really don't have too much time to do that as well, or if you're going to school or something like that. So that's that. Primarily these are the two problems that we're trying to solve.
So you've mentioned the problems that you're trying to solve. I mean, just talk us through how you're going to do that. I mean, what is it you want to achieve? I mean, just give us a sense of your business and what you're trying to do, because it's quite an interesting approach that you've developed. So tell us about that.
Yeah, for sure. Just looking at looking at it, zooming out, and then looking at the macro world as such, and with AI coming through, and the impact it's having, and probably taking a few steps into the future and assuming how the current technology or an improved version of the technology is going to impact people. One of few things that come out when you think into the future is the fact that at this current point itself, the redundant tasks are sort of being done by the AI, which is a massive advantage today. And with AI getting smarter and smarter, you'd probably, as humans, we'd have a tendency to outsource everything that requires a lot of cognitive load, and hence the world of agents coming through. So our vision is that with in a world full of agents into the
Mhm.
future, we
Mhm.
want to be that agent for sports analysis, pretty much that AI buddy that you can talk to, you can bounce off ideas, and someone who's got all the data and the intelligence to process it
And
for
you're
you.
you're focused on one sport at the moment, aren't you? I mean, tell us
As
about that. I know you've got plans to go broader than that, but tell us about the sport that you're working on at the moment and why does that interest you?
Yeah, so Spoda right now just Spoda stands for sports data, and the first sport, as you suggested, is cricket. I mean, not as you suggested, as you mentioned, it's cricket because we're based out of India in Bangalore, and cricket's the most popular sport and
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
accessible users and fans that we can go to. So primarily because of the proximity, and secondly also because it's a complicated sport, you know. Thanks for inventing it, Paul.
We need the
And
Brits. Is it our fault?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Okay, yeah, that's what I meant. It's a beautiful sport, but it's a little complicated. And if we can build an AI that can understand the nuances and the technicalities of the sport, then that's always gonna bring in the that's always gonna make every other sport into the future easier.
And
So
I mean,
yeah,
just let me just ask you, for people that don't bet a lot, I mean, I'm one of those. I'm not a particular gambler. People bet on all sorts of things, don't they? So they won't just bet on who wins the match. They
cricket.
bet on lots of things. I mean, how will Spoda help with that? Because presumably, I mean, tell me if I've got this wrong. Presumably, because you've got all that data about all the different things that are going on, that can really help people that want to bet on, how many balls does it take to get this person out or whatever the thing is. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. So your question is like from if based on like with online betting coming through, you probably, as you said, you have almost everything. You have a prop bet. You can bet on like what's going to be the run scored in the next over, even, odd, and what's the final score going to be? Is it going to be an even number, an odd number? It just the list goes on. And what we've essentially built is a cricketing mind. So it thinks like a cricket analyst, and Spoda is able to understand the requirement of the context that the user has, and then be able to understand what and be able to decide what data it needs to look at, and then look at that data, process some answer, and then give some suggestions. So primarily, Spoda is a research tool that you have, so it could be any of the bets that you want or anything else. Like even we have a lot of content creators as well who use Spoda primarily for generating content, and so it's just an AI analyst who's giving you information that can be now converted into content. So that's how Spoda does it.
Okay. Let me ask you, because it's an interesting, what is it that set you on this path? Now, I know a lot of people are super keen on cricket in India. I mean, I get that. But why did you go down this road? I mean, for example, you could have just set up a betting site and made loads of money. I mean, that seems to be happening all the time. There's loads of different betting sites popped up. And
Yeah.
I'm sure they're using AI to work out what the odds are. What was it? What set you on the path to do something so different? Because it's completely different to what most of the other people in the work that sector are doing.
I know, absolutely, absolutely. So if you look at it, primarily a lot of people are, solving for more business use cases for bookies, and
Yeah.
or let's say for sports teams, the leagues. We just are different that way because we want to bring it to the final consumer, and that's primarily our goal, and that's
Why
where
is
I
that?
think.
Why is that important to you, though? I mean,
I'd say it's a problem that I face personally, more than anything else.
right.
Something like this was back in, let's say, 2016, in Washington D.C. I would have a day job, and then I was doing business school in the evening, and you had all sets of games that were going on. And the only time I actually got to probably look at it a little bit is on my tube ride from my work to my school, and most of the times I can't even follow the sport a lot because of my the lack of time, and I would really struggle to do some level of analysis, something even basic, to even collect a lot of data, and then to be able to process it. That itself would become often difficult. That's when I felt, hey, what if, I'd end up calling a friend, and we'd just
Right.
bounce off some ideas and be like, hey, what do you think about today's game? Is it going to happen? Who's got the momentum? Who's in form? And then I just realized that, hey, like, why don't we do that? Why don't we build an AI solution that behaves the same way? So it's a very personal problem that few of us founders had as well. And we realized and we validated it. We went around asking people, and then a lot of people said, yes, this is an issue. And we also realized there are a lot of fans who would love consuming the sport with a lot of data with it. And there's a lot of banter going on as to who's a better player and who's a better team, and all of these things. So somewhere, AI can come in and sort of help in there as well. So yeah, that's primarily been our right, like a passion project, what we wanted to solve for, and we just set out doing it, and then today it's become business for us.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I hadn't realized is how much that banter influences how people bet and how big a part of watching a game. It's a kind of component part of just going to watch a game. I mean, the assumption that people just go and watch cricket, there's a lot more to it, isn't there? Which is the thing that interests me about it.
Yeah, yeah, the banter and the fan following is always there because as humans, I mean, you have a team to follow. You go down there on the weekend after
Mm.
a tough week, and then you watch a game. You celebrate together, and then coming back. I think that it's sort of more inspirational than anything else. Everything else would be the money separate. It's just separating the financial aspects of it. It's just what the power of a sport probably, where you just separate together. Uh,
Let me ask you about what success looks like. I mean, where do you see the business in, say, 5 years' time? I mean, what are you working towards?
I'd say what success looks like, or what the taste of success that we've had at this point in time is we have upwards of our users who use Spoda. Their earnings have gone up by close to 70%, 50 to 75
Well,
percent, and then there are a lot of, so if you look at the entire segment, there are a lot of newcomers who are like sports fans, who are like dabblers. They come in for the big games, and then you have your the pros who are at it on a daily basis. So somewhere we've been able to really help both these segments, and when they're successful, we get a taste of success. So I'd say into the future, as long as we can impact a lot of lives, if we can level the playing field today against the house, help people decide how they can financially take better decisions. And with predictions market coming through, there's a lot more, there are a lot more variables and numbers and a lot of things to
and
consider.
you mentioned prediction markets. I mean, I've heard a bit about them. I mean, how do you see that changing the kind of betting world? I mean, give us your insight into the impact that prediction markets kind of growing and expanding and becoming more commonly used. What impact do you think that's going to have? You got any insights into that?
Yeah. I mean, the more, yeah, I can tell you the insights that I have. So primarily, I'd look at how one aspect of it is you're always getting a better price because it's more peer to
Yeah.
peer. So there's always that advantage which is there. So you'd probably look at hedging, or you'd probably have a better option. That's one part of it. And since, as I mentioned, hedging, I think at a larger scale you'd probably you've picked a position, let's say in a petroleum stock, and you know that it's dependent on the ceasefire extending, or if there's going to be a ceasefire or not. So you probably are hedging your bet by taking some position there as well, because if the prices are going to crash, then your
And
stock's
how
going
will
to.
that those prediction markets impact on things like cricket?
So it's just like the impact is probably common across every sport. I'd say the impact primarily comes where you're having another uh, let's say a piece of data, or not a piece of data, a factor that comes in
Mm.
where you're looking at what the sentiment of the people are. and that's what's driving the prices on the prediction market. Whereas in the sports book, has always they also need to look at their margins and also look at their balance sheet. So
Yeah.
they're going to balance
Yeah.
the prices accordingly. Whereas so they're very independent in the way the prices are going to move in each of these markets. So that's something the users can totally tap into.
Yeah.
And I feel it's also going to drive a lot of these sports book to sort of have a prediction markets arm as well, and you can see quite a few of them doing that already. That move in that direction where they also have a prediction markets offering because they don't want a new technology to really disrupt the
Yeah,
old way.
yeah. And let me ask you about the scale of what you're doing. I mean, I know you're going to be working on other sports, but just in terms of cricket for the moment, I mean, just give people an indication. I mean, how many people watch cricket in India, for example? I mean, do you have a sense of the size of the market?
I don't know. I check globally, maybe close to a billion people
I mean, it's
around the
extraordinary.
globe.
It's a massive market, isn't it?
Massive market. It's a massive market, and it's primarily globally as well. It's the South Asian market,
Yeah.
the immigrant population that are primarily following and bringing. I mean, growing the sport as well, representing the countries as well.
Yeah, yeah, exciting. I mean, really exciting thing to be doing. Let me ask you a bit about, how you're going to get this stuff done. I mean, let's start with being the CEO. I mean, how do you feel about being the CEO of a company that is trying to disrupt what bookies are doing? I mean, you're trying to take power away from bookies, aren't you? So they're not going to like that. I mean, how do you feel about being a CEO in that kind of environment?
Yeah, I don't think that there's really a battle of sorts as such. Primarily, I would say it's more like you do better, but it's not like us versus the bookie primarily. It's not like, hey, for us to win, the bookies have to lose, or vice versa. So it's just going to be a research product that
Right.
users have today. So it's more like saying, let's say you have a car, you're probably adding an additional exhaust or a turbo to it, something of
Right.
those.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I
But,
get that. Okay.
but,
Let me ask you another thing about it. I mean, what is it that you like and dislike about being the CEO? I mean, do you enjoy the job?
yeah, so I'd say as long as you enjoy highs and lows in life, and
Yeah.
somewhere like my philosophy of life is I think life is a gamble, and so every day when you wake up in the morning, it's like you're pretty much and time is your currency, and what you win is peace of mind and satisfaction.
Yes.
So as a CEO, when I apply that, you probably sometimes you wake up in the morning wanting to kill yourself, and then by the end of the night, you feel like the king of the world.
Yeah.
So those ups and downs are something that I quite enjoy, and the passion and for what I'm solving for, and how our customers respond to our product.
Yeah.
The Spoda is something that probably keeps me going, but definitely quite a few sleepless nights, and
Yeah. Let me
uh,
let me ask you about something that you mentioned to me last time we were talking. I mean, I think you're working on a book around this idea of a sort of a Buddhist approach to business. I mean, if I recalled that correctly. I mean, just tell us a bit about that because you just mentioned philosophy. Tell us about that philosophy because again, it doesn't follow the kind of conventional wisdom. I mean, you think the Buddhist approach is slightly different. I mean, tell us a little bit about that and how does it influence the way you're doing things?
Yeah, so just to tell you a little bit, so I did a Vipassana meditation course, which is a 10-day silent meditation course, probably like 10 years back, and that sort of changed a lot of my perspective towards life, and and I sort of started to deep dive into Buddhist lessons and the way of life, and probably through business school as well, was more keen and attracted to frameworks and philosophies that was not, I mean, entirely capitalistic, if
Mhm.
I mean, lack of a better word. where it's profit driven and shareholder centric only, and thinking of shareholder value all the time instead of thinking about what you can do for the community. This is the root or probably the genesis of uh, the philosophy or the framework that I sort of apply.
Hmm.
And is basically you're in business, and business is nothing but a group of people. So at the end of the day, as long as you're able to impact all of them positively, positively is, I mean, financial is could be one of the reasons, but as long as you are creating value and you're able to impact lives directly and indirectly, that becomes more of a North Star metric for me as a CEO. And while we are also setting up the culture for the organization, where all these aspects sort of come into play. So that's one part that that's one part of the approach that I want to sort of write about as well. And every time you're making a decision, so let's say you have to take a decision based on to give you a simple example, like letting someone go over, let's say, probably grinding it out for or losing out on a business, a potential opportunity or a project because of lack of funds or resources. You probably look at saving a job over probably looking at that project, thinking about a long-term vision on how you can improve, what you think of a strategy that's more inclusive, and you don't have to let go. That's one part of it. So something like that sort of comes into and or also while deciding, hey, who gets how much equity, who's compensated
Hmm.
how. You probably have an approach of where you're more giving. You're probably thinking about yourself lesser, and you're being more selfless. And I've seen that transpire through the organization as well, where we're more concerned about our customers and the people that we deal with, and who externally from who we deal with externally. So that's one part, and the second part is also comes from Michael Porter, and I think everybody knows about Porter's five forces. But later on in his career, he also came up with a framework called creating shared value.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, yeah, so that is something I think, Paul, you can add to that as well, where you're probably looking at, hey, how do you help your customers improve in their, I mean, how can you help their lives improve? More than just thinking about, hey, how can I build a product that's probably going to do a job for them, but something larger than that, where you're like, hey, what if I can help their household improve, or the community or the
So
quality
I
of life?
mean, it's a really interesting idea, that shared value
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
I mean, how do you feel that will play out with your business? Because obviously you're helping people to research their
With
position.
Spoda.
Yeah. I mean, tell us about some of the other things that you think that business might create, that shared value for other people that your business, I mean, will it create a lot of shared value for the other sort of staff, customers? I mean, how do you see that playing out?
Uh, so one thing is employees definitely, and at the end of the day, we want to make sure that our customers and the way our users of Spoda understand that they're more data backed as often as they can, which probably they don't go with their gut. They don't have to go with the gut all the time, and that helps with putting them in a better position financially as well, and making sure that mistakes don't happen, and also you're making better decisions. So I think that primarily can definitely impact our customers and
Yeah.
something for the larger good. And we are also starting an initiative where we are sort of educating people on the basic mathematics. So while you're using Spoda, it sort of tells you, hey, these are the data points that I sort of looked at, and this is why I believe that this is what that's the basis of my
So,
analysis.
so you're
So
talking
that
about
sort of,
transparency.
yeah. Yeah, no, here it's more like I'm talking about education, where you're educating the user, where while I am using Spoda, I'm also
Right,
learning. I'm also learning about how do I analyze data when I look at these two
right.
data points. What does it mean? What is the correlation, or what does correlation even mean? The word itself, or what does average mean? So we try to give in these snippets, sort of, so that you're also learning to analyze, and learning to analyze is a fantastic skill maybe in every walk of life. So that's something that we sort of are trying to create as an experience. And at the same time, we also want to help out athletes and budding stars. So we haven't initiated anything, but we're also working towards some kind of merchandise or something for the community. That's something that we also want to do so that grassroots sports improve. So we're on that note, we're launching a product for the clubs across the UK, where grassroots Sunday cricketers who don't have an analyst or can to tell them about their game, or probably to prepare or tell them about their opposition. Today we're rolling out a solution where they're able to get preliminary data on, hey, who are you going to play, what is their strength, what is their weakness.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's a positive impact that we're able to bring at a grassroots level, because at a grassroots level it's really tough to analyze, and data is also
yeah,
not very
yeah.
structured.
And let me ask you a bit about the journey that you've been on. I mean, have you had any really big surprises as
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
been building the business? I mean, what sort of things?
I was crazy. So last August, all right, this is around end of August last year. So we started around 2 years back. Spoda is around a year and a half old, and so in India, there's a massive market in terms of, like, this is in terms of fantasy sports was
Mm,
really picking up, and you had billion-dollar companies in that space. You had prediction markets sort of coming through. So this was a space that was growing, and you had the big names like the Betways and of the world were there. And on August 25th, the government passes a bill just in one day, like in 24 hours. It passes an online gaming bill which bans all of these real money games and promoting them as well. So we literally lost like a year's effort of acquiring our customers, and probably
wow,
the
how
first version
frustrating.
of that was crazy. That happened overnight, and we're still standing. So quite happy about that. And I think something that really helped us is we were thinking about multiple use cases as well, not just specific to one use case. Like I said, today we're doing grassroots
Yeah,
analysis for
yeah.
grassroots cricket, then content creation, and then
Yeah.
the
I mean,
betting
that's
part.
the thing about building businesses is it's full of surprises, isn't it? All sorts of things happen. And let me ask you another question about decision making, since you touched on it. I mean, have you had to take any really, I mean, you've talked about facing down a surprise, a change in the market. Have you had to take any really tough decisions where there weren't perhaps good options, or anything where you've had a sleepless night trying to make your mind up?
Yeah, I think on a daily basis, it's probably something that is always a tough decision. I think probably two or three every week.
Yeah,
And some of the toughest ones are, hey, your resources are limited. You don't have the luxury of, let's say, a profitable company. And based on those resources, you got to make decisions on, hey, what are you going to focus on this month or this week? And then you have uh, three things that look really equally amazing, and each with its pros and cons. Now at that point in time, and then the team's also divided because people have their opinions as well. Now at that point in time, you got to take a decision. And I'd say that the difficult times are also when you might have to take a decision that the majority don't agree to, and
yeah.
eventually go wrong with it.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? Those sorts of things are tough. Let me ask you about the success that you've had. I mean, it's really interesting area that you're in, and you're building something. I know you're going to go broader than cricket, but you've built something quite substantial in the cricket world. What would you say are the factors that have enabled you to be successful? I mean, just give us a sense of what's really working?
So I'd say, to call us successful, I would love to know your definition because I mean,
Well, you're
to
not
me, I
failing,
don't.
are you? You're
Yeah,
not failing
yeah,
yet.
yeah, we're not feeling yet, but I'd say, probably success. We're still on our path to profitability.
Yeah.
So I'd say that when we reach there is what when we'd say, it's probably a decent milestone or a checkpoint where we could pat ourselves at the back. But otherwise, the journey is going on, and we enjoy small successes on a daily basis. So we cry together and celebrate
Oh,
together.
and what are the
So,
factors that have enabled you to make progress? I mean, I'm interested in what are the things that you're doing right?
yeah, yeah. So in terms of success, like the one of the greatest successes we had is after the end of like probably 8 months or 9 months hacking into it. So today, if you look at AI, right, with the technology that's available globally, you have people with just one or two people starting companies across the world. Like it's as simple as that. So just to give you an example, so I'm mentoring a startup now, and they took probably 3 weeks to have a product to test it out, while we took around 3 months and maybe 6x the cost. So I'd probably say that that's something that's changed a lot, and while we were building it out with an LLM or an AI solution, we realized that hey, to build like something that's a proof of concept, or you want to show hey, this is what we want to do, it's kind of easy to prototype or to come up with something. But when you really want to scale it, it's super challenging, and the AI sort of loses track, and the AI is not really it's meant to create something new, so it's not always going to be consistent. So there were all these challenges that sort of came through where we started building from scratch something proprietary, and I'd say the first success was when we were able to deploy it and we were able to get like at least 85% of the user's queries and questions sort of being answered, and performing better than any other LLM in the field of cricket. I'd say it is probably the greatest success we've tasted so far.
Cool. Well, that must be really gratifying to do that. And
Yeah.
what is it that I mean, whenever we've spoken, you always come across as hugely enthusiastic, which I love. I mean, I love people with ambition and enthusiasm. I mean, I think it's great, right? What is it that you personally enjoy about building a business? Because as you've just said, I mean, it's hard work. It's a tough gig. There are sleepless nights. I mean, what is it you enjoy about it? Because
I think, yeah, I think, creating opportunities, that's out of thin air. That's what's the most exciting thing. So, hey, we're like, hey, let's build something out, and then a group of people coming together, and you've created that opportunity. And if the customers end up liking it, it's amazing. So that's what's awesome. It's just like going back as a kid when you'd call your buddies in the summer to just play a game of cricket or soccer, and then there's just the delight of people coming together and
And do
doing
you get a
something.
lot of customer feedback? I mean, is there a process within the business, as it were, that gives you that feedback, or is it just that when people come and say to you, it's great?
No, absolutely. So we have a fantastic design team. So one of our co-founders, Joy, he basically, I mean, so design team in our group, we have the design team that represents the customer, and they make sure of having these user interviews consistently. So every time someone's used the product, not come back. We talk to them. Someone who's bought, who's been a customer for the longest time, who love our product. We keep talking to them as well. And something that's very tricky about feedback is also because no one's ever ready to give you feedback because you just randomly ask for feedback and they're like, hey, what do I tell you?
Yeah.
And the times they end up just saying everything's working fine and all of that. So it's the greatest challenge that we have is like how do you tailor a conversation, and how is it free flowing
Mm.
while that's happening you're also able to look behind the, look under the, under the water and see what's real, because most of the times at the surface level, you're probably not getting too much insight. So
Yeah.
that's something we do consistently, and that's something that's helped us a lot. And yeah, and to just give you one story is we did a redesign of our interface, and that entire process started off with a designer, Suraj, looking at talking to multiple users and understanding and defining sort of what the problem statement was. And then we built out a solution, a redesign, of revamp the user experience, and we were able to improve our double our conversion,
Wow.
and yeah, and that was primarily born out of feedback,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
and
that kind of feedback's incredibly valuable, isn't it? I mean, if it doubles your conversion rate, I mean, that's incredibly valuable, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It wasn't very straightforward. It had these layers where we had to talk to a lot of users, then stitch it all together, what they said and what they didn't say, and then be able to, solve for that. But that was a really exciting experience that we
Yeah,
had.
yeah. No, I can see that. I mean, very powerful. I mean, it's lovely when you get your feedback that helps you move the business forward. I mean, I always think it doesn't matter what business you're in. I think that's helpful stuff. Let me ask you about the flip side. I mean, what would you say is the biggest mistake that you've made, and what did you learn from it?
I'd say, yeah, in terms of learning, I'd say I'd probably say the biggest mistake is, you know, I probably would say juggling, multiple teams. You probably end up, missing
Are
out
you
on
saying trying to do too much?
trying to do too much is what I'd say is the biggest probably learning that we've had, where we've spread the team uh, quite thin because we found things to be exciting, so we went for it. So you ended up you were not able to you were not able to, like, you could probably have done one thing really well, but we ended up doing four things that are all right.
Yeah. I mean, that's such an important point. I mean, I have that in front of my diary actually. Do less better, because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get I mean, I've made similar mistakes myself when I've tried to do too much and
That's,
spread myself and the team too thinly, and it never really works. Well,
yeah,
not in
Paul.
my experience.
Any advice on that from your side, Paul?
Well, no, I mean, I wish I didn't do it. I mean, but I get distracted by stuff that looks interesting. I think, oh, I'll go and do that as well as doing this, and yeah,
Yeah,
it's usually not a good plan. So I
absolutely.
totally get where you're coming from. And let me ask you a couple of last questions before we wind up. So, if you were starting again, if you were to go back to the beginning, if you were starting from scratch, is there anything you'd do differently this time round?
I'd probably I mean, this time around I have AI, and last time around I didn't have AI. So,
Okay.
so I'd probably say that we'd cut costs a lot. We'd be more AI native. Maybe that's one thing. But otherwise, I'd probably say we'd be a little more aggressive in terms of deadlines, I'd say.
Right.
That's something that we've
So you push harder. You push harder for things.
yeah, yeah, we sort of no, we push the deadline away harder.
Oh, I see
So
what you
we
mean. Oh,
probably
right.
don't,
Okay.
so we probably don't want to do that too much. And I think that's something that I think as a culture, if we could have, probably had that going from the beginning. I'd say, it's something that I'd do differently.
Yeah.
Yes, as a culture, basically, probably thinking about the culture from day zero, something
Yeah.
that
Yeah. You're not the only person that said that to me, actually, how important that getting that stuff right is. And one last question. If you were to offer some advice to somebody else starting out, a rookie CEO, somebody like you, but 10 years younger or whatever, I mean, what advice would you offer?
so again, depends on business to business. but I'll fundamentally say that you know the first step is to believe that you probably are not doing the business for yourself. You're in it because you love doing what you're doing, one part, and secondly, you're able to, enjoy making a difference to the people
So
who are
that's
involved.
your Buddhist philosophy coming through,
Yeah,
is what you're
I'd say
saying,
that.
isn't it?
Yeah, that philosophy is kicking in. So I'd say probably that would be my first thing, because I feel you end up making a lot of decisions. Like, at least when you're starting off, you
Yeah.
probably don't want to give up too much equity. That's one thing you're probably thinking as a CEO. You're like, hey, I and and that's one part. And secondly, I'd say don't worry about hiring the best or figuring out the best people. Because that's the second part, and then the third part is don't worry about getting a perfect product out. I'd say get it out, and keep iterating. So yeah,
Keep
these
learning.
keep learning, yeah.
Yeah.
Keep learning, keep improving, keep getting that feedback, because you might just stagnate making a lot of assumptions and then realize that what you thought is a perfect product is not a perfect product. But you can also always release a half-baked beta version or something like that, and then
Yeah.
just go with it, and don't worry about like just hiring the best. You have somebody, a friend of yours, a neighbor, anybody who wants to really help you out, work or learn. You probably want to make sure that you're kind of, if they can skill up, you get started, instead of really waiting for that co-founder, or having that perfect team, because you might lose out on a lot of time. And time is of the essence, especially if you're building in the tech space today.
Yeah, absolutely. And great advice there, I think, Vibhu. Thank you, as always. Great to chat to you. It's really interesting. Thanks for sharing your journey. I mean, I think it's a really, really interesting proposition, and I'm not a betting man. I still think
Awesome.
it's a really interesting proposition that you're developing. So thank you for coming and sharing the story, and good luck going forward. I look forward to
Thank you.
hearing about all the other sports that you're going to tackle.
Definitely, Paul. Thank you so much.
All right, see you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.